Have you ever pulled the new LR or a Dokkan Fest TUR within Dokkan Battle and thought, man, the SSR art for this unit is way better than the LR or the TUR art? Well, I think what you kind of would say with that, with the term, or maybe when a unit is impossible to bring out, think about maybe exchange Vegeta and Nappa, think about Super Saiyan 2 Gohan before his EZA, think about those transformation conditions where they're impossible to bring out. I would consider that to be the term wasted art. And in today's video, I'm going to be looking at as many units as I could think of that have what I would deem to be wasted art. So let's go ahead and just jump right into this. But again, before we actually jump in, let's just preface this with I do understand that an SSRR is important because let's just pull. We're not going to summon or anything on this video. You can see my stones, but what's important on a banner is the dopamine that you get when you pull the new unit, right? And seeing some of these units, you have to understand that the SSR art is very important because when you look at it, you want to be excited that you pulled a new unit, right? You see these really good SSR arts, right? And you're like, oh yeah, I can't wait to pull that. And when you see that silhouette, you see it pop up. I do understand that that is important. But what I would argue to that is the fact that most of the time you're going to be looking at the art like this. So sometimes this is not the case where the art is this good. And that's when you're going to be looking at and seeing the most with the unit. So you kind of want to have the better art. But that's basically it. So down below, if I miss any, feel free to mention them. Again, this isn't really a like a top 10 list or anything like that. This is just me thinking about arts that I think could have been saved for more important things. Could have been TUR arts, could have been LR arts, and et cetera, et cetera. So let's go ahead and hop into the first art, and then we will just go ahead and talk about it, and go ahead and do that. All right, so the first one, he's probably going to be in the thumbnail, but our boy AGL Final Form Frieza. Now, AGL Final Form Frieza is an interesting case because you guys can see here, I'm on the growth tab on the unit, right? Here is his TUR art, which I'd say is fine. It's a good looking art for the idea of the blast that he's throwing down with the AoE super that he has. I think it's fine. But you look at the SSR art, this is like as iconic as a Frieza shot as you could possibly have. And using this on an SSR art, I think really is just kind of a waste because you could easily have a unit where the super attack is literally just him walking up to the rock, taking the enemy and blowing them up as like he does with Krillin. Maybe it's a double thing where he shoots the enemy and does what he does to Piccolo where he shoots him through the chest, and then the second part of the super attack is him bringing Krillin up and blowing him up. That could have easily been a Dokkan Fest LR animation. Like when you think of the penultimate Dragon Ball villain, it's Frieza. You can prefer Buu, you can prefer Goku Black, you can prefer Cell, but Frieza embodies everything of what a DBZ villain is supposed to, or a Dragon Ball villain is supposed to be, where morally he is on the opposite side of the compass as the people we're supposed to be rooting for, right? Goku and company, before Vegeta, after he kind of changes, believes in mercy, believes in giving opponent a second chance, believes in giving, you know, not killing his opponent because he can maybe see a redeemable quality in them, or hopefully through the actions and the humiliation in the fight that maybe Goku could bring upon them would be enough for them to say, okay, I need to change my ways. That's what he tried with Frieza, and then obviously that did not work because we can just bring him up. We have the LR Full Power Frieza who after is given a second chance after being cut in half, immediately does this, but instead of being full, he's cut in half. So when I think of what Frieza embodies, he embodies in, you know, taking out everybody, conquering planets, killing people, you know, destroying whole entire races of people at one time, like we saw with the Saiyans. No mercy and stuff like that. I think that this Frieza is so important to what a Dragon Ball villain is supposed to be, and this is kind of where you see Frieza at his, maybe not his most evil, but like in his essence, right, where he is super powerful. He survived the Spirit Bomb, for crying out loud. And you know what he did right after he survived that Spirit Bomb? Took care of what seemed like killed one of Goku's best friends in Piccolo. Maybe not best friends, but, you know, allies at this point, because they had been fighting together and doing things for a long while at this point. Like, you know, we're 2 arcs into the series. And then killing his absolute best friend in Krillin by blowing him up. No debate about that one. He's gone. And this moment brought forth the most iconic moment, arguably in anime, with the Super Saiyan transformation. So I know I'm kind of on a long tangent about this, but this Frieza art in specific is so important to the series of Dragon Ball that it brought forth, it's the defining moment of the series with the Super Saiyan transformation, and the only reason we see, or what we see, is just an SSR art for a banner unit that's no good. Even, I don't think an EZA is saving this guy. Like, this unit is just not good, and it would take quite a bit, so This Frieza art is my first example. This will probably be the longest tangent that I go on, but I would say that this art right here in specific, I guess we could take, like, just look at this art. It's so good, and it's just a TUR, or just an SSR for a TUR that sucks. So, ATL Final Form Frieza, really the most, like, prime example of what a wasted art is to me. So let's go ahead and get into the next one. Coming in at the number 2 spot, we have Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta in Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's SSR art. So again, this is one of those examples where the good art is like supposed to be there when you pull the unit, and I would say that they accomplished what they were setting out. It's really cool when you do see the silhouette. Maybe not these days, but when he came out, this guy was like, you know, he was up there with LRs with how good this unit was. Like, we're talking like STR Vegito, I think, was the best unit in the game when he came out. We're talking like this guy is like right up there with him with just his super effective against all types, the attack stats he's putting out, the defensive prowess that he has, especially after super, the counter ability that he has, just a real chat of a unit, right? But I think that this art is just so much better than the TUR art. Like, the TUR art isn't bad, don't get me wrong, but I don't like the pose. I don't like the way that it's kind of just like run-of-the-mill flying at the camera, if you want to call it that, with the fist up. I prefer kind of like because he's like this against Omega, where Omega like flies at him and he's basically just standing there like this, and then, you know, he can't even touch like Gogeta. Like, he doesn't even move. It's kind of like what UI Goku does with Jiren, like where he just kind of stands there and like a bunch of punches hit him. Like Gogeta does the same thing with his speed, right? Like, it almost looks like what Goku's doing against Burger and Jace, right? So I'd say that this kind of just looks better. I understand that it's more influent. Like, you got to remember that it's also like the art is usually fluent with the super attack animation, which isn't always the case, but sometimes it is. And that would be the case right here with this guy, right? Where this is kind of like part of the super attack, so I get it, but this guy just looks so much better. I just like this pose. I like the way it looks. I just think it looks way better, especially if they gave it like minus the prism background, like TUR effects. I just think that this art could have been used on a Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta TUR, and like the TUR art, not just the SSR art. So I would say that this Gogeta would definitely be a more prime example of a unit or an art that they wasted that could have been for something a little better. But this isn't going to be as long as a tangent as Frieza. I'm not going to cut to the next one because we're literally just going to go to the unit right next to it, and that is our boy Int Gotenks. Now, Int Gotenks has a bunch of arts, but we're going to mainly be focusing on the SSR to this version of the TUR, right? This is like almost the same exact thing, where again, he has like the kind of looking at the camera doing like some funky thing with his hands, and the SSR art is basically the same thing that Gogeta's is, right? I just like this art where he's on the lookout, the hands on the hip, the zesty look, if you want to call it that. I just like the face that he's making in this pose, the pose himself that he's doing. I like the background. The background is really clean, like the lookout with the tree in the back. Again, like if they gave this TUR effects, I think this would look really good. Like, because if you just look at like the background of the chamber, what would like, just because like the effects are basically the same, but like what if it was this, but the background changed, and instead this was the SSR art, and then the TUR art was basically what we just looked at, where he's got his hands on his sides like that. I just think that would look way better. I'm a big fan of just the kind of way this art looks, and I'd say that this Gotenks, this could have been relegated to a TUR rather than an SSR. But, you know, Gotenks, basically the same case as Gogeta, where I just think the SSR art looks infinitely better than the TUR art, and really, like, Gotenks plays a significant role in the Buu Saga, right? Because Buu Saga, a lot of what like the Fat Buu portion into Super Buu is Goku and them trying to stall out for Gotenks or Goten and Trunks to figure this out, right? They're like, we need to get these guys fusing. This is the way that we're going to beat Buu. And then, you know, Gotenks' ego is a little bit of a problem, but, you know, you try and put the responsibility of like how old are they? 7 and 8 at the time, I think. If you try to put a responsibility of saving the world on a 7 and 8-year-old, you're kind of you're flirting with disaster, right? And I would say that that was almost the case because Gotenks. It led for some really cool attacks in video games and moments and stuff like that, but, you know, when he's messing around, spitting out ghosts, turning Buu into a volleyball, it just doesn't really work when it comes to defending the Earth, right? I don't know why Goku just gets a sick thrill out of, like, let's make the 11-year-old, I forget how old he is at the time, but he's very young. Gohan, when he's, you know, in the Super Saiyan 2 form, he's, like, basically a teenager. He's like, yeah, you're going to be the defender of the world, and I get the mindset where he's like, Goku's like, I'm not going to be around forever, and these villains are always coming after me, but... You know, it's it's just an interesting philosophy to have when you clearly have the strength to be able to do it. So, I don't know, but anyway, Gotenks, fun stuff. So let's go ahead and move on to the next art. Okay, so right here we have a case where a unit doesn't have a bad art or a better art in this place. This is a art that's hidden away that is really, really good. This is the exchange portion of the Nappa/Vegeta unit, where Vegeta gets rid of Nappa, and then you can see this is like right before he does the blast to kill Nappa. This art is beautiful. I prefer this way more than the Tech Grade 8 Vegeta art. Now, this is not the Grade 8 portion of Vegeta. This is beforehand, but I'm not like, it's impossible to see this guy in game. Like, unironically, because I didn't summon for this unit when it came out, I wasn't like really into the game at this point. But like the 18 key on this guy, the Gallic gun that he does versus Goku's like 4 times Kaioken Kamehameha, it is a really good animation, and it is locked behind this exchange condition that's impossible to get out. On my account, I don't think like I've seen on my actual phone playing the game, I don't think I've seen that animation one time. Because you never use this unit, and when you do use this unit, we are going to go out of the exchange mode. You're always in this because you're just playing World Tournament with them, getting his 12 key to get the AoE, right? So you never are ever considering bringing out this Vegeta in World Tournament, and this is like a really good art that could be a standalone Vegeta unit in the future, and this art is beautiful. Like, this really, for me, is like one of my favorite Vegeta arts in the game, but you are never going to be able to see it because this exchange condition is not good. This unit has obviously aged, and just at the time, like, it's still like really, like, this is just a unit that does not have many places in the game. So I would say this LR Vegeta art is just one that they really like kind of dropped the ball on, because it's a really, really good art. Like, the art, like, if they, whatever they commissioned this for, it was really good. Like, the guy who did the art, they killed it, right? But it's just the fact that you cannot see this unit, and he is just hidden away, and it's a beautiful art that really could have been saved for another LR Vegeta. Because again, this is like, at the time, like pre-Frieza, right? This is the strongest character basically in the series to date against Goku, right? Like, this is Goku's biggest foe right here, his biggest challenge yet, next to like Demon King Piccolo, next to Raditz. Obviously Nappa was fodder, but that was by design. So, you know, like, when you think about Goku's like biggest opponent and like biggest rival in Vegeta, you think about a moment like this, and this art is just hidden away behind this crappy, you know, Nappa setup where you're just never going to be able to see it, right? So most of the time you're always going to be looking at this, when I would say argue that you want to be looking at this most of the time. Like, imagine this, just this unit sitting in the box, right? Would be much better, but let's move on to the next art. All right, so coming in at our next spot, we have STR Rose. Now, STR Rose is one of those cases where, like, the TUR art looks fine. I just like that the fact that this is like the signature pose for Goku Black. Like, you think about Goku Black, a lot of the cool stuff that he does. You think about the sight that he's using, which he is using in the TUR art, but, you know, kind of like the thing where he's putting his fingers up and he's got the arms almost like the one arm crossed and the finger up. I really like this pose. I think this is like a super, super good SSR art, but I wish it would have been done for like a TUR, because you guys can see I'm just kind of like a fan of like the standing straight doing whatever you're doing, right? Because like, you go to the TUR art and he's got like the crazy face and he's flying towards the camera with the scythe. It looks really good, but I just think that this could have been a TUR, and then this also could have been a TUR, right? Like, the more Goku Black... Actually, no, I made a video recently, if you guys want to check that out, where I talk about how the devs kind of hate Goku Black, and it's unfortunate, but like, you know, this really could have been like 2 separate units. Maybe this was like the unit for the art for the AGL portion, and, you know, it could have been really cool looking, right? So, you know, Goku Black will just like quickly go over. It's just like, this is like, again, one of like the premier antagonists in Super. I know people aren't like the biggest fan of Zamasu. Merge Zamasu is pretty cool, but Goku Black in itself is, I'd say, worthy of having, you know, more TURs within the game. And this could have been an art that they used, and it would have been perfectly fine. But let's shoot on to the next art. All right, so I'm not really a huge fan of the effects in the background on this, but the pose and the art itself, I really like. Like, this God Goku from the Tournament of Power that fights Kale and Caulifla into Kefla, this really could have been like another unit in on itself, because Goku doing, like, he even has a good it's super attack animation, and this is just the SSR of an LR, for crying out loud. And, you know, the little finger gun, this could have been a really cool TUR that they could have done in the future, even if they wanted to make this like a free-to-play unit or something. Like, this art right here could have been saved for like a God Goku unit that, like, because people like God Goku, right? Like, there's been clamoring for a Dokkan Fest God Goku from Battle of Gods for forever, right? Like, I Will Not Let You Destroy My World being part of it. Maybe the transformation scene in itself be getting like a high-quality animation update. Like, there's so much they could do with God Goku, but this God Goku in specific, I think, really could be like a summonable unit down the line that we get, and like this finger gun thing that he's doing is something that we could definitely see as well. And I mean, this is hidden behind, you know, this LR art, which this is still one of my favorite arts in the game, and that's not to say that art is bad, or even this one's really not even that bad. This one's kind of but like, this one in specific is just like so good. And they were to give this like a nice background with maybe like the Tournament of Power stage, maybe kind of make it look a little more TUR-y, if that makes sense. It could be a really cool like art, but instead it's just relegated to the SSR of a unit that the TUR has a different name and the LR has a different name. So instead of doing that, how about you just do a blue Goku that goes into UI, or hell, even make it UI sign as the SSR, and then save this really cool Goku moment and make that a TUR down the line. I just don't get what they were doing here, but it's just a punishment for whales too. It's like, oh, you want to go ahead and rainbow everything with this unit because they all have different names? All right, go ahead, pull 15 copies real quick. So you know, not the best, but it is what it is. This art is really cool, and I hate that it's just behind an SSR that you're never going to be able to use anyway. All right, staying on the theme of Superclass STR-LRs, we are looking at the TUR art and really the SSR art as well for 5-year Gogeta. Now, 5-year Gogeta is one of those rare instances where every single edition of the art is good. And I'd say that this TUR art could have been its own TUR down the line, like a summonable base Gogeta. We have a lot of content within the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie where this could have just been an animation, right? Like, imagine the intro animation is him showing up to the fight, like, all right, step into the way of Frieza, telling him, like, it's my turn now or whatever. That could have been a really cool animation. Maybe it's them, like, teleporting to the battlefield starting out after the fusion. Like, this could have been, like, a really cool looking art, right? And they could have had this just for its own TUR. Because, like I said, Gogeta just has a lot of reference material because in that fight with Broly, Gogeta fights for a long time. It's not just like where in Fusion Reborn where he just kind of does, like, a couple things, like, does, like, a backflip, does a kick, does the Soul Punisher, and he's done, right? This is the case where we have a lot of different things going on with this Gogeta, and this could have been a TUR art down the line as well. So, I would have just saved these arts because they are really just too good to be relegated to arts that you'll never see outside of pulling the unit. So, let's go ahead and do one more, and then we'll wrap it up because we'll be here all day if I just want to go through every single case, right? So let's go ahead and do one more. All right, so rounding out the list, we have the SSR for the physical Dokkan Fest Broly. You think about this Broly pose in specific where, like, he's doing the transformation to go into Legendary Super Saiyan. When you think of Broly poses, I don't know if it gets more iconic than this. And again, like the Frieza pose, it's relegated to an SSR. And when you look at the TUR art of this unit, it goes against really what Broly is all about. Like, he's doing a red blast. I don't think he ever did a red blast, from what I can recall. Like, almost all of his attacks are, like, green and whatnot. And, you know, you think about what Broly does, and it's tough to tell on the shading from this if this is from Broly Second Coming or the first Broly movie. I would like to say it's from the first Broly movie. But again, it's really tough to say. But like this art right here, this is a summonable Ultra in Legends, and that's like their equivalent to LRs, I guess, at this point, I guess we could say. And this is just like a free-to-play unit, and this, not a free-to-play unit, but this is just an SSR unit, or LR, okay. This is an SSR art in this game, where you're just never going to be able to see it because you're looking at this one version of Broly that doesn't even like embody the character of Broly, where, you know, Broly in Broly movie, like movie 8, the first Broly movie, where he's just, all he's doing to Goku, Gohan, and Trunks and Vegeta and Piccolo is he's just basically grabbing them, slamming them into the ground, punching them, pushing them through buildings, breaking things, you know, calling himself the devil, humiliating, trash talking. He's not running around shooting ki blasts. Like, there's some blast arts to him, like he does a blast after he crushes Paragus and throws him, and then does a blast, and then he blows up the planet of the I don't even know the name of the race. It's like the people that are slave labor, doing slave labor on the planet. He blows up their planet, right? Like a bridge has a funny way where it's like they're like masochists or whatever, and then Broly's like, "What if I blow up your planet?" And they're like, "No, what's the safe word?" And they forgot it, so it's just funny, right? But Broly doesn't do blasts, and this art is being blast when the SSR art, for crying out loud, is like his signature pose that Legends got an Ultra for. Just really, this art could have been the TUR, and I think everyone would have been fine with that. Like, imagine this unit just sitting in the box as like level 120 rainbowed and all that fun stuff, or level 140 now, but you know. Dokkan arts are really good, and I wish that some of them more we saw, like, you know, sometimes we look at LR arts, we look at things like Metal Cooler, you look at the Janemba one up there, you look at Boo Tanks, it looks really good. You know, there's just a bunch of good arts in the game, right? And it sucks sometimes when some of these units don't get the love that they deserve. So let me know down below. I'm sure I missed a bunch, but there are a lot of arts in this game, and I couldn't go over all of them without making this a 3-hour video. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you are new. Tell me your favorite art down below in the comment section. Have a great day, everybody. I'm out.